Breaking news here on First Take, and it's time for a quick take on it. Big NFL news this morning. The Seahawks and Jaxon Smith-Njigba have agreed to a deal making him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. 4-year, $168.6 million extension that includes $120 million guaranteed. Seattle, of course, just won the Super Bowl. What is your reaction to them bringing back the Offensive Player of the Year?
Congratulations to JSN. He deserves every penny and then some. Ladies and gentlemen, this brother was born on Valentine's Day in 2002. He's 24 years old. 24. And he plays the way that he has played. They let go of DK Metcalf. They made him the star. And what does he do? He goes from 100 receptions for 1,130 yards last year to 1,793 yards on 19 more receptions this year. Clearly the best receiver in football last season. He's 24, nothing but an upside. And you don't just get paid for what you do. You get paid for potential. An organization that says they trust in you. And when you think about the future of the Seattle Seahawks, why would you not trust Jaxon Smith-Njigba? He deserves every penny. I'm really, really happy for him. It's well-deserved, and it's after he delivered a Super Bowl championship. There's nothing to be said here. He's earned every penny. He deserves it.
I didn't realize his birthday was on Valentine's Day. The Super Bowl this coming year is on Valentine's Day. Maybe he could celebrate it with another performance like this one. All right, let's go back to the tournament here. The 9-seeded...
The highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. That's been confirmed by our Jonathan Jones. He's agreed to a 4-year, $168.6 million extension to stay in Seattle, paying him just over $42 million a year. His contract also includes $120 million guaranteed. If you remember, JSN led the league with nearly 1,800 receiving yards last season and 10 touchdowns. He was named Offensive Player of the Year and helped them with that Super Bowl, their first in 13 years. But take a look at it. When it comes to highest paid wide receivers, he's up there with some of the greats so far. Just edging out Jamar Chase, who was at 40.3, but now Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the new top dog, at $42 million. All right, Jonathan Jones tapped in with us. And, JJ, the simple question is, how easy was it for the Seahawks to make him the highest paid receiver in the NFL?
It was rather simple for the Seattle Seahawks to go ahead and pay JSN after the season that he just had. Look, when you consider the fact he's only 24 years old. Right? I mean, this is an incredible move for the Seattle Seahawks, who we saw in free agency that they were going to pay JSN. Why? Well, they went ahead and let Boye Mafe walk. They went ahead and let Kenneth Walker III walk. Of course, those two going to the Bengals and Chiefs, respectively. Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen, they both found new homes, but they did keep Rashid Shaheed, who they sent two draft picks for at the trade deadline last year. They knew that they had to take care of JSN this offseason. They know that they're going to have to take care of Devin Witherspoon, their corner from that same draft, at some point this offseason. But you go back to last year, they took care of Charles Cross, who was their first-round draft pick a year before JSN. And so it's no surprise that Seattle takes care of business now. You know, a lot of times with these contracts that you know are going to happen, a lot of these teams say, all right, we got to get through free agency first. JSN, you're on our team. You're under the 5th-year option. We're not worried about anything. Then we got to get through the draft. And then we'll reward you in June or July. That's when we start taking care of future business. The Seahawks, they don't abide by those rules. They know that they have JSN. They know that they want to pay him. The longer that they wait, that number is probably only going to go up. And so they make him the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history with this deal.
JJ, I want to ask you this because you mentioned he's 24 years old. I remember when he came out, he was the 20th pick in that draft, wasn't considered the best receiver, but your conversations with personnel around the league, where is JSN kind of pegged in the receiver rankings as of right now?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because he works, obviously, for Seattle, and a number of teams would love to have him as their number one wide receiver. You know, I think I don't know how many folks would say he is the top receiver in the NFL, right? I think a number of personnel folks would still take a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson at number one, but I don't think that he is outside of anyone's top three, if they're all being honest with themselves, especially after the season that he just put together this past year. I voted for him very obviously for Offensive Player of the Year. So whether he's 1, 2, or 3 in your rankings, when it comes to highest paid receivers, there's no doubt who number 1 is.
So JSN is that first domino when you start to talk about that next layer of young wide receivers that we've seen showcase their talent. You think about Puka Nacua the last couple of years, obviously some injuries this year, but the year before that, we were saying he was in the top 5, top 3 era. Could he be the next one, maybe getting a massive deal?
So he could be. And it's interesting because obviously Puka is certainly primed to get a major contract extension this offseason. And one would think that he would be right there at that $42 million per year mark. I have to imagine his agents want to get above what JSN just got. So let's call it 42.5 or 43 when you consider everything that he does for the LA Rams, how he helps their offense both in the run game and the pass game. There's no question that Puka Nacua would be worth it. Yes, there are some injury issues, but the fact is he's involved in just about every play, run or pass. Another name to keep on the lookout for, and I don't think he's going to be at $42 or $43 million per year, but of course, George Pickens, who was franchise tagged by the Dallas Cowboys. Now that number continues to go up, right? If the top of the market was at that 40 or so million, now it goes up to 42. So what does George Pickens want, and how does that impact him? We know, of course, he is playing under the franchise tag for the Dallas Cowboys in 2026, unless, of course, there's a tag and trade situation that seems incredibly unlikely. But will he get 35 or 36 if they can reach a contract extension this offseason ahead of the July 15th deadline? We'll see. So those are the top 2 names, Puka Nacua and George Pickens after this one.
I want to take a look at the AAV in terms of those numbers of what we just mentioned, those 2 receivers, George Pickens and Puka Nacua. Where do they kind of peg for you when you look at the top 5? Obviously, DK Metcalf being the low end at 33 and Jaxon Smith-Njigba at 42.
Yeah, so I would probably say, if I had to put, if I'm looking at my crystal ball here, that Puka will replace Jaxon Smith-Njigba at the top at some point before they start playing games in September. And then I would say that George Pickens is going to be somewhere around Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, right? You get a little interesting when it's the Dallas Cowboys and they have CeeDee Lamb, who's homegrown, right? And they paid him, and then George Pickens comes over and has a great year. Do you pay George Pickens more than CeeDee Lamb? So that's where the difficulty, that's where the rub may be for the Dallas Cowboys with this player. Just had an incredible first year with you, but had a lot of question marks before that, back when he was with Pittsburgh. And so there's going to be some hedging probably involved there. That's going to be a tougher number. But for the Rams and Puka Nacua, probably much easier for them to hammer out a deal now that JSN has gotten done.
Well, Jerry Jones is all in, JJ. If you haven't heard, he is all in this year. He is pushing all the coins in. So we'll see what happens here as well with Puka, the LA